Hello and welcome back to a very long overdue episode of Knights of the Podcast, presented by Take 3 Productions, where we talk about the greatest franchise of all time, Star Trek. Oh, sorry, I mean Star Wars. Of course. And with me today, I'm your host, Chris Skywalker Dohmen. Here with me today, I have actually the guy who was on the first episode of the original iteration of this show, Manning Franks. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing really well. I'm excited to be back on here for the... Wait, what episode is this? Episode 6? Episode 6? See the title, guys. It's a clever title. Get it? Okay. Anyway, moving on. I'm super excited to be here, and I can't wait to talk more about Star Wars because not only do I wear Star Wars, I bleed Star Wars, I breathe Star Wars. It's a problem.
No, it's not. It's not a problem. Don't let anyone ever tell you that. But, maybe my other guest, who was on the last episode of Knights of the Podcast, Evan DeGraff. How have you been since we saw you for the celebration wrap-up?
There's been like a really weird trend. I've always been on like the last episodes of something before it takes like a really long break or before it gets canceled. So I hope that doesn't happen to you today, Chris. Weird news. I'm probably going to be like taking away some of the posters, and I'll be moving like a Captain Underpants poster right next to the Captain America one. So then Star Wars will be surrounding it. It's going to be great. Star Wars everywhere.
Nice. Cool.
So, first things first, let's talk about some Star Wars news that's been dropping. First thing I actually want to get to, which this is something I am genuinely excited for. I am so jacked for this. Now, I'm sure most of you hardcore Star Wars fans have read Leia, Princess of Alderaan, Bloodline, Ahsoka, Rebel Rising, Lost Stars. Guess what? Another popular character is going to be getting her debut in the quote-unquote young adult is going to be the next edition in the young adult section at your local library, and that is Padme, Queen of Naboo. I'll be honest, I'm excited for this. Now, according to sources, we don't have an official confirmation of the author or what period it's going to be set in, but the fact is, it has been confirmed this is an upcoming novel to be added to Star Wars canon. Manning, are you excited for this novel?
Yes, and you said all Star Wars fans have read. Aha, they might have also listened to, because Audible is a great thing for college students when you're walking to class. And this one in particular, Princess Leia, or Leia, Princess of Alderaan, was a fantastic book. I won't get into too many spoilers, but there are some fantastic scenes, specifically with the character from prequels that, is very good. But this one in particular, I think, is Padme's much-needed debut into the book, into the new canon of Star Wars, because so far we haven't had anything in particular with her, maybe like outside of, I guess you're talking about the Clone Wars TV show or maybe the Forces of Destiny, but Padme hasn't had a really moment to shine. I feel like with this book in particular, a young adult book, a lot of people are going to read it, not just young girls, but college guys like me are going to read this who are huge Star Wars fans. Anyone can pick this up, because I feel like the young adult novels, the title young adult does not do it justice, because they are usually better than sometimes even the original ones. No offense there, Aftermath. But you look at Lost Stars, that in and of itself is an amazing book.
Yeah, absolutely. That's top five canon novels for me.
Yeah.
But Evan, as someone who doesn't necessarily keep up on the books of Star Wars, does the idea of a character who didn't necessarily have the best execution in the prequels getting her own novel, does that seem like a great idea in your eyes?
Padme was really good, and I'm going to be honest here, as someone who can't defend the prequels because they won't. She was really good in the prequels, her character at least, when it comes to everything other than Anakin. All of her interactions except for her interactions with Anakin. So I'm interested to see what her actually lifestyle was like. It's the title is Padme, Queen of Naboo. So I'm guessing it's going to be pre-Episode 1, pre The Phantom Menace. And I'm interested to see how she grew and how she became a queen and how she became this powerhouse of a politician that she is. And I think that's probably what we're going to see. Her probably... How old is she when Episode 1 starts,
She was
Chris?
14.
Mm-hmm.
She was 14 when Episode 1 starts. Wow, Natalie Portman did not look 14. we're probably going to be seeing her, I would guess, around 9 to 14, seeing her growth and her becoming a powerhouse. That's what I would predict. I don't know how short or how long, but I'm going to expect something around that time period.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but if it is set prior to the Phantom Menace, would this be the first amount of canon we've gotten that is prior to the events of Episode 1? I might be wrong.
Yes, you would be wrong on that one. Because
Okay, which one is that?
We have gotten in the comics there was the
Oh, okay.
Yoda arc in the comics that was set like 100 years or so before Phantom Menace, but this would be the first non-comics piece of canon.
Okay, there we go.
Next thing I want to get to is there were some new set photos literally just dropped today from The Last Jedi. And there might be some potential spoilers in here, so I'm going to put a little graphic right here. Let's talk. First things first. I love seeing Finn and Rose Tico on like just in even a picture together. They are awesome. That's the one I wanted to start with. Evan, do you have a particular picture you want to talk about for a minute?
I now regret looking at these pictures after looking at that Kylo
Yes!
Ren and the Rey one. Look, at the end of the day, we know this fight is gonna happen. It's just a matter of what's gonna happen and what are gonna be the results of it. And I think they're gonna fight more than once in this film at least. We're gonna see probably 2 or 3 encounters. Just the way how the film's setting up, there's gonna be something where I think Rey gets absolutely destroyed by Kylo at one point in time, and Luke's there at the last minute to save her. This is just random theories, but that picture looks awesome, and that's why I refuse looking at it, because now I'm speculating on everything that could be possibly happening.
Yeah.
Just shows how good, these small little snapshots from the movie can really be.
Is speculation really that bad, though? Manning, you got a particular standout?
Well, first, I have to agree with Evan. I was like, oh boy, this is going to be some great official images. I'm going to learn a little bit. And the next thing you know, oh, cool. Great. That Kylo Rey one looks like it might be in the 3rd act. I really hope not, because I was trying to stay away from that. But, however, from what we did get, and the descriptions that come along with them, one in particular I find interesting is Luke Skywalker, the Master Watches, is when he's gazing over at Rey, because that's probably going to happen in the 1st act, as we know. But what it says underneath is that Hamill says no one can do better than Sir Alec Guinness, so he's not doing anything remotely similar to Luke. Luke is a broken warrior, which I'm still debating with, because the Luke I know was this hopeful, this powerful Jedi who just had this grand vision, and I know it's been years later, but it's going to be a weird adjustment trying to shape our view of what Luke has been, even in the EU, into what it is now in canon. And I'm just kind of preparing for when that first crawl comes up, and he's going to have this big grumpy Luke, probably like, what are you doing here? And he's going to be like the new Han Solo, hopefully.
Yeah, no, and that's a fair point, but come grumpy Luke, come happy Luke, I'm just looking forward to seeing Rey put Luke through his Mr. Miyagi moment where he's going to try so hard to not train her, and then she's going to say the right thing that convinces him, and I just can't wait to hear what that right thing is.
That's very true.
But one last one I just wanted to really quickly touch on is I'm so glad we finally get another look at Vice Admiral Emmeline Holdo, the Laura Dern character. Because at least now we're starting to get some more looks at the brand new characters. Still no Benicio. You're throwing him. You're keeping him in the dark. All the more fuel for my speculation. But hey, I'm just glad that we're seeing something from it. So, anybody got any wrap-up thoughts before we move on to the next story?
No more pictures. No more.
No more TV spots. Thank you. No more TV spots. You hear me there, Lucasfilm? We have too many. I'm trying to avoid them.
And I just keep soaking it on. I can't get enough, but I'm glad you guys have your limits, and I'm just shameless. Which brings me to a story that did drop about a week ago now, but I think it's still important to talk about just because, come on, the speculation is too real. So, we've gotten confirmation that the reason Rian Johnson's not doing episode 9 is because he is developing a brand new trilogy of Star Wars films that is in no way tied to the Skywalker saga. Gentlemen, thoughts? Manning, we'll start with you.
Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars. We're gonna have Star Wars for years, guys, because this is the first time we're officially breaking off from the Skywalker saga to create a trilogy, a numbered trilogy. Although are we gonna finally ditch the numbers? Question mark. We won't know. However, this is fantastic news. When it first said, which is interesting, is that some people were reporting that this would take place in a different galaxy. Yet I was looking back at a recent article, I forget which it was, but it said that it would take in the far reaches, the far corner of this galaxy. So could that mean we're going to be getting a little bit more development into the idea of where the First Order came from? Are we going to go far back into the reaches of the Old Republic, perhaps? Or maybe we're going to go far in advance? This leaves us so open to what it could be. With Rian Johnson at the helm, that means we're going to get something good, because Last Jedi hasn't even come out yet. Disney's probably very happy, and I know if they're happy, I'm probably going to be very happy.
Evan?
Look, we can speculate about anything that we want pertaining to what Rian Johnson's going to do with it. The fact that Disney had the confidence to give this man 3 films.
Yes.
3 films! And the fact that they had the confidence to do that is leading up to this theory that I have that perhaps that Rian Johnson can top Empire Strikes Back with The Last Jedi. Is it difficult? Yeah. But giving a man 3 films, there's got to be some type of confidence there. Like, it's like when Kevin Feige gave the Russo brothers 3+ films after Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier was a great freaking movie. Is The Last Jedi gonna be something to the same, where it's like this is a Star Wars movie that we've been waiting for a while? Like, no, like The Force Awakens was great, but it's still missing that few little minor pieces in order to make it feel like a Star Wars movie. You guys know what I'm saying?
Sure. I love The Force Awakens, so I felt it off the bat, but no, like that's also a very fair point. Like, you know, Rian Johnson is to Star Wars what the Russo brothers are to the MCU, and I have my own theory about what I think he's gonna do with it. And yes, I do think we are gonna go back in time, so to the sort of Old Republic era, but we are absolutely going to do something that's not related whatsoever to the Sith Wars or Darth Bane or anything like that. Like, honestly, like, I think this is going to be a completely new story, just set in a universe where the Force is a real thing. And of course, like that has to be a theme throughout every single Star Wars movie, because that's what makes Star Wars Star Wars. But if we can make, if he can make this trilogy be about just regular people trying to make their way in this galaxy, that's going to be so freaking interesting.
Mm-hmm. Now, if I might add as well, what does this mean also for 9, for 8 and 9? Are we going to wrap up Rey, Finn, and Poe's trilogy, or are we going to be taking a break? Because I love these characters too much to not have just 2 more episodes with them. I want to come back. And if we maybe took a break and had these 3, and then maybe some like 10 or so years later we have them older, like the actors physically older, and new stories to explore with these characters that we've now have an attachment to, it'll be like seeing, probably not to the same extent, but like seeing Luke, Han, and Leia again for the first time again after so many years. That would be a really, really, really cool thing for them to do.
Manny, you just said something really interesting to me. You said Rey, Finn, and Poe. So you're of the belief that this is also Poe's trilogy, that he's just not like a minor character to the side, but he is one of the 3.
Not after what we've been getting from The Last Jedi in particular. We're getting a lot of inside scoops, especially with his relationship with Leia. He's, I think, going to be the new Leia. He's going to be the one in charge of the Resistance. Yeah. Because we all know Carrie Fisher, God rest her soul, was not going to make it to 9. and someone's going to need to lead the resistance. Now, maybe that's going to have some tension between Holdo and Poe, and I'm excited to see that. Or maybe Poe takes it completely, but whatever it is, he's going to lead the resistance in a capacity for the future.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's actually that was a great tangent. I love that. With that, I do want to touch on the other story that dropped last week, and that is, in addition to this new trilogy we're getting, we're finally getting a live-action Star Wars show.
Yay!
Thank you, Lucasfilm. We truly appreciate it. Now, sadly, not a lot of details have been given in terms of what the show is going to be about. However, the details we have gotten is that the show is going to be for the Disney streaming service that will be released in 2019. Manning, would you like to give me your speculation on what kind of show you think we're going to get?
I can give you a lot of speculation, because I've been waiting for this since Star Wars Underworld was like announced. We had all those scripts that will never see the light of day, probably, with like maybe young Boba Fett or whomever. That's one I remember at the time. I think we're gonna probably be getting. I mean, maybe not. Part of me wants the Old Republic, or at least some capacity, some actual. I'm saying this, more politics, like with the Jedi and how they operate back then.
Isn't that just timely?
Or, hey, you know what? Game of Thrones is doing politics really well, and I thought, hey, why not? Let's go with Game of Thrones / Old Republic and have just a lot of Jedi talking about. Wow, and I'm thinking out loud, that could be really boring. I guess it all depends on who's doing it, but I would really love us going back to the old Underworld section and having us stories about bounty hunters, smugglers, and just kind of the hive of scum and villainy of the universe. Because that would be really interesting if it was like, just like one-off stories, if you will. Think of it as like a Black Mirror anthology.
Ooh. Evan, would you have a similar idea to that, or do you think?
Ironically, that's not like, I could speculate about whatever, but at that point you're just talking to like a black hole, because there's so many possibilities that they could go with it. We could get something brand new that we don't even know about. But what I'm really interested in is how they released this story. This wasn't really the main story to come out of the whole, Netflix and Disney thing. This was the main like header that they ran with. But the real story was that Disney is no longer going to be having shows with Netflix. I just found it interesting on how all bad press, it can be covered up with Star Wars. And I just find that ironic. If you got bad press, what do? You slap Star Wars on it and make everybody happy. So that's kind of my takeaway. It's just like, Disney's a mastermind at working their press kits and their marketing.
Yes, exactly. I could be like, I'm leaving Take 3 Productions. Slap Star Wars on it. But here's this Star Wars show for us to do. I'm kidding, by the way. Trust me, I won't be leaving Take 3 for a long time, if at all. So, but that being said, I have my own theory that I'm pretty sure it is going to be a show that draws a lot of inspiration from the 100 scripts of Star Wars Underworld, and probably will even use some of those episodes and use some of those characters in a new context. It's just a matter of when is this show going to be set. And if you put a gun to my head, I'm honestly going to say between 6 and 7. Because we have not really explored that timeline yet. There is so much we can learn from that era.
That is 30 years of nothing we know barely anything about. That would be actually a fantastic idea. So going back or go into that 19-year span between Revenge of the Sith and I guess now Rogue One, going into that from 6 to 7 would be really cool. I co-sign that.
Thank you. Awesome. All right. Well, that's gonna do it for today's news. Obviously, on the next episode, we'll have a lot more news to talk about as we keep getting closer and closer to what I am hoping is the greatest Star Wars movie of all time. But now, we got a history lesson. This week, both 32 years ago and 33 years ago, saw the release of two films that I'm sure a lot of Star Wars fans would like to forget about, but sadly, they still exist. You can still buy them on DVD. And that is, of course, the Ewoks movies. Caravan of Courage, released in 1984, and The Battle for Endor, released in 1985.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna hope you guys don't have much experience with these films.
None, zero at all.
I saw them once when I was little, and I barely remember them.
Well, you know what, guys? Then, you know what? I will give you a little refresher for both you guys and for the audience at home. Just a little walkthrough of these movies, because, okay, Caravan of Courage stars, oddly enough, Warwick Davis, of course, as Wicket, who reprised his role in both films, which, it's good to know that he still had work. But the story of it is there's this family that crashes on Endor, and just they're trying to stay alive and survive. And, granted, it was a big hit on TV. Same thing with Battle of Endor, which for some reason had Wilford Brimley in it. A lot of kids actually did grow up with this. Like, for example, Doug Walker, the nostalgia critic. These movies were part of what got him into Star Wars, funny enough. So, I have to pay tribute to their legacy, even if I myself do not like the films. Sadly, that's just the way the cookie crumbles, in the words of an actually good movie. But that being said, I do want to touch on one other thing, which is the official first canon book, Heir to the Jedi, was released on this week back in 2014. And funny enough, it was initially just a book that was written for Legends, but at the time, Disney had just bought Lucasfilm and they scrapped the EU, but this book was just about to hit the publishing shelves, so they said, okay, well, you know what? This works for the timeline. Let's put it in canon. And while I can't say I like it, because the Luke in the novel is not Luke, at least as well as we know him, again, it's important to show the legacy that this is the first official canon novel. So that's your history lesson for the week, guys. Yay! And don't worry, next episode I'll have some actually cool stuff. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Not just.
Are you?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was saying, are you implying that Ewoks aren't cool?
Even when I was 4 years old, I did not like them. No, sir. I did not like them. To quote the horse from Ren and Stimpy.
Ewoks are amazing. I don't know what you're talking about.
They're fine. They're good.
Well, you know what? How about speaking of something that's cool, though, let's transition over to something that actually is cool, lightsaber fighting. Now, as some of you guys may know, I am part of a now international group known as the Saber Legion, where essentially we learn how to apply real-world fighting techniques with lightsabers. Because, come on, is Star Wars not the greatest thing of all time? Of course it is. So, I got to sit down with the founder of the Saber Legion, who literally just happens to live right here in Minnesota, so why not? Might as well talk to him. With Terry Birnbaum. Check this out. Hey guys, for KoTP Productions and for Knights of the Podcast, I am Chris Dohmen. I'm here today with the founder and CEO of the Saber Legion, Terry Birnbaum. Terry, thanks for taking the time, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be here.
Yeah, man. So, okay. I like to start off with every interview for Knights of the Podcast with the same boring question. How did you get into Star Wars?
Wow. Okay. I got into Star Wars out of order. First time I saw Star Wars, it was Empire Strikes Back, and I thought that was the most amazing thing ever. It was on VHS, and I just stumbled across it in my parents' video collection, and I instantly fell in love. I was like, what is this? This is amazing. I examined every single portion of the movie, instantly fell in love with Boba Fett. Boba Fett was my original favorite character. What they did with him, being all serious and whatnot. He's that guy, whatever. I loved it, it worked on me. But yeah, I just accidentally stumbled across my parents' video collection and was like, wow, this is amazing. So that's how I fell in love with Star Wars. And yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. That's well, and actually that's something I've kind of noticed is a lot of people like, especially more towards your age and maybe on the upper side of my age, they came across it when it was sort of that transition period from the old original trilogy to the prequel trilogy, and what was it about just that accessibility that you think made Star Wars such a big phenomenon?
Well, I'm just gonna be blunt about this. They basically have swords that light up, and everybody loves swords. But this is a lightsaber, and it glows. It makes these really cool noises. The lightsaber, the costumes, the music, the really really simple story. I mean, the movies. It's a very simple story. It's about one family basically, and that is it. There's a lot of little mini stories that came about it, but the props, music, and the characters, it's very very awesome. Yeah.
So you mentioned the lightsabers, which are definitely a huge influence on what made Star Wars. But to segue into what you are most known for, tell me about how did the Saber Legion sort of come to be? Like, what was the origin for this awesome group that I am honored to be a part of?
Very cool. So we're actually writing a book right now. Yes,
Sweet.
yeah, it's a short story about TSL and how it formed. And a lot of people ask that question, and I also wanted to make sure that everybody was mentioned that had a hand in it. TSL was started between Josh London and myself. Josh Linden and I were a part of a local costuming club in Minnesota called the Minnesota Force. I was also a member of another local club here that was Minnesota Saber Combat. This was like 6 years ago. So I fast forward a little bit to like 3 years ago, I think, right? That's whenever I met Josh, and I was like, hey man, you want to join Minnesota Saber Combat? And he's like, well, I'm kind of doing this Minnesota Force thing. I'm like, what's this Minnesota Force is doing Saber Combat? He's like, well, no, they're doing a lot of control dueling and choreography. And I'm like, well, okay. And it seemed like Josh really wanted to get into the more combat side of things, and Minnesota Force didn't really do that. And I was doing that with Minnesota Saber Combat. But the thing is with Minnesota Saber Combat is they didn't have any rules.
Oh.
There was no gear requirements, no rules. It was a free-for-all. And so I was really kind of starting to get I'm not comfortable with this anymore. And that's when I met Josh, and Josh and I were like, well, how about we just start our own organization? And so we did. And after that, the first two people to join were Shamim and Mike Urban. So
Yeah, as I say,
and that started in my backyard.
That's awesome, and to see where it has grown to, it's now a national organization with chapters literally all over the country,
International.
You're right, international,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that you run all that, how nuts is that?
Well,
okay. As the founder / at least CEO of this chapter and whatnot, how much responsibility do you feel like it takes out of you for that?
well, basically myself, Josh Linden, and Charlie Cummings are all the owners of TSL. We run all of it, everything from Minnesota all the way to Australia. That's what we do. Myself and Charlie run mainly the financial side of it because that's a thing. We are an organization. We do have events. We do make money, but all the money we do make goes back into the organization so we can have more events. We're having our next annual tournament in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a lot of fun. We're teaming up with Combat Con. So, yeah, I mean, it's this organization isn't run by one person. This organization is run by a lot of different people. Basically, everybody that's a part of it is helping contribute to it growing and functioning. It's not just me doing it. The people that are part of it help me do it. And without them, I wouldn't be able to keep doing what I'm doing. Crazy. I mean, there's a lot of decisions that I personally have to make, and sometimes that's taxing and stressful. But again, I have all these people for support that help me get through a lot of it. So it's an amazing thing. Like, it's a very, very awesome opportunity and a fantastic organization to be a part of. So yeah.
No, well, dude, that's awesome. Honestly, like I'm really so good. I mean, I've been with this group now for a year, and I'm still learning so much about, you know, just not even just the art of saber combat, but just like the history and the what goes into running an organization like this. You know, which actually I'm able to take home a little bit, because as the head of operations here at Take 3, you know, I'm the guy who. I'm in a similar position. Or
Yeah.
I have a lot of decisions I have to make, and I've worked with an international staff. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, no, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot. We have tournament rules. We have to get insurance. We have to make sure that all the charters are obeying all the rules. We got to make sure everybody's signing waivers, because if they don't, that's not good. We gotta make sure that we actually do make money so we can pay for. Our organization has bills. This place that we were in right now isn't free. The venues that we get for our bids are not free. So there's a lot of people that help out with our websites. The graphic design. There's a lot of ideas and stuff that happen, and it's a lot of collaborative work. So yeah.
Yeah, no. And actually, so we're gonna start to wind us down a little bit, but I want to ask you two more questions. Part one: what to you has been the biggest challenge, either past or present, with everything that you've done here with the Saber Legion?
The biggest challenge is getting our name out there. Just making people aware that TSL exists, and letting them know that this is a new sport and you can be a part of it. The first thing most people when they see TSL, you tell them about it, they're like, really? Like, that's a thing? I'm like, yeah. What? Like, are you just hitting each other with toys? No. And then that's where you have to explain to them like what these sabers are, what they're made out of. So dealing with that is really interesting. Another side of that is that people are first thing to do, they say like, oh, it's this kendo. Actually no. There's only a couple people, one person here, or a charter that does kendo. One person. So we don't do anything like kendo. Like our scoring system is yes, it's a point system, yes, but it's completely different. It's a completely different scoring system than kendo. So that's always interesting. You always have to like tell people like what you do, explain to them, this is what we're doing. It's nothing like this. We're not copying anyone else. So that's always been a struggle. It's just 'cause when they see what we're doing, they instantly want to they just want to throw it into something else. They always wanted to like compare it to something else. This is actually what we're doing. This is what TSL is. We're saber combat. So I guess that's like the biggest challenge is just kind of yeah.
Fair enough. And the second part of the question is, what to you has been the most rewarding thing from everything you've done with the Saber?
Oh, that's easy. Seeing all the people's lives that you can change. A lot of times, like, people are like, hey, thank you, Terry for doing this, thank you, and I'm always like, man, I just want to share this with everybody, and then like seeing that what, you had an idea, had a vision, and then you do it, which a lot of people don't see that. Like, you can do whatever you want to do in this world. You can do anything you want to do. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. The only thing holding you back from doing anything is yourself. So seeing how it affects people in such a positive way is amazing, and that you did that. Like, you were the person that did do that to them. So that's amazing, knowing that they are living in a very happy place because of you.
Yeah, man, definitely. Yeah, Terry, thank you so very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And don't forget, guys, this weekend we have our Star Wars charity watch-along for the National Foundation of Suicide Prevention. For Knights of the Podcast and KoTP Productions, I'm Chris Dohmen. We'll see you guys next time. Take care!
And that was a lot of fun to do that with Terry. I absolutely loved talking with him. And who knew how much Star Wars he actually knew? And don't worry, the guy who was actually who engineered that interview, I'll be sitting down with him soon. Partially so you guys can hear his amazing Watto impression. It's beautiful. But
oh, I can't wait to hear that now.
good. You have a lot to look forward to. But that being said, let's move on to what is quite possibly my favorite segment of any show on Take 3. Once more, with feeling. I love this.
Okay.
How this works. We select a scene from a piece of Star Wars, whether it's a book, a comic, a video game, a TV show, or a film. And we will read through the scene one time seriously, and then one time with a gimmick of our choosing. So, in the episodes of this show that we've done, it's been brought to my attention we haven't done Rogue One yet.
Rogue One!
So I decided, screw it. Let's find a Rogue One scene that actually has enough dialogue in it to justify doing it once more with feeling.
Ow!
And I happened to find one. I lucked out.
Good job. Good job.
All right, so we have the scene of Krennic and Tarkin as they blow up Jeddah City. Now, I'll go around the panel. Does anybody have a role that they would like to play? Because we have 3 roles. We have Krennic, Tarkin, and the Imperial officer that, just a minor role with 2 lines.
Ooh.
Dude, if I could play a Krennic that's about to piss his pants, that would be amazing. Unless if Manning wants it.
Oh no, I would say Tarkin. Krennic is fine, but Tarkin.
Okay.
Oh, I love Tarkin.
All right, and I will just take the role of the Imperial officer then.
Mm.
So remember, one time serious, one time with a gimmick. When you are ready, Governor.
Alrighty. Channel my inner Peter Cushing. The Emperor is awaiting my report.
One might hope that he and Lord Vader might be here for such an occasion.
And I thought it prudent to save you from any potential embarrassment.
Well, your concern is hardly warranted.
If saying it would only make it so.
All Imperial forces have been evacuated, and I stand ready to destroy the entire moon.
That won't be necessary. We need a statement, not a manifesto. The Holy City will be enough for today.
Target Jeddah City. Prepare a single reactor ignition.
Sir, we are in position to
Fire!
commence primary ignition. Stand by.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I believe I owe you an apology, Director Krennic. Your work exceeds all expectations.
And you will tell the Emperor as much?
I will tell him that his patience with your misadventures has been rewarded with a weapon that will bring a swift end to the rebellion.
And that was only an inkling of its destructive potential.
And I will be telling him that I will be taking control over the weapon that I first spoke of years ago, effective immediately.
We stand here amidst my achievements, not yours.
I'm afraid the recent security breaches have laid bare your inadequacies as a military director.
The breaches have been filed. Jeddah has been silenced.
You think this pilot acted alone? He was dispatched from the installation on Iedu, Gillen Erso's facility.
I will see about this.
Cut.
Not bad. Not bad.
I'm
Nicely
so
done.
scared. What?
Although
Yeah.
I was a little saddened by the you just couldn't quite go all the way with the we stand here amongst my achievement, not yours.
I can see Tarkin going like, oh, good lord.
Krennic is one of the most confusing characters I've ever seen. The guy's scared out of his mind, but then he's like, my ego's bigger than yours.
He was better in the book. He's better in the book. Read
Much-
Catalyst. He's
much
good in the
better
book. He's
Catalyst,
very good.
Yes. But that being said, we've had some fun. But now it's time to do that scene once more with feeling. All right. So, what kind of gimmick do we have in mind? You guys, again, you guys can do whatever you want.
I'm gonna be Dobby as a Krennic.
I was going to because I recently just watched my university's production of it yesterday and fell in love with that musical all over again. I'm going to do a German accent for Krennic because why not? I'm sorry for Krennic for Tarkin. Why not?
Yes. All right. Then for our hapless officer, I think I'll just do. I'll do the yeah, sure, yeah, betcha. Your typical Minnesotan accent.
Chris, you can't be yourself. Come on.
But Evan, I don't have a Minnesotan accent in my normal voice.
Boy.
All
Let's do
right.
it.
Boy.
Vamos.
Once more feeling. All right. The Emperor is awaiting my report.
One might hope that Master Hermione and Master Harry might be here for such an occasion.
And I thought it prudent to save you from any potential embarrassment.
Well, Master Harry, your concern is very much warranted.
If saying it would only make it so.
All of the Imperial forces have been evacuated, and I stand ready to give you a sock.
That won't be necessary. We need a statement, not a manifesto. The Holy City will be enough for today.
Targets, Baltimore. Prepare to destroy.
Oh, sir. We stand by in position ready to.
Fire!
Okay, yeah, sure. Commence primary ignition. Stand by.
Oh, this sock. It's beautiful.
Okay. I believe I owe you an apology, Herr Krennic. Your work exceeds all expectations.
And you will tell Dumbledore as much?
I will tell him that his patience with your misadventures has been rewarded with a weapon that will bring a swift end to the rebellion.
And that was only an inkling of my freedom.
And I'll be telling him that I will be taking control over the weapon that I first spoke of years ago, effective immediately.
We stand here amidst my sock, not yours.
I'm afraid the recent security breaches have laid bare your inadequacies as a military director, Herr Krennic.
The sock has been given. I am free.
You think this pilot acted alone? He was dispatched from the installation on Edo, Herr Galen Erso's facility.
My freedom will see about this.
I don't know what that was.
I don't know what that was either, but that was actually kind of awesome. All right. Well, that ought to about do it for this comeback episode of Knights of the Podcast. Guys, thank you for watching. And you know what? Next episode, if we have time for it, we'll throw in some time for answering your guys' questions. If you have a Star Wars question you'd like to throw our way, definitely hit us up at Take3Trivia. But speaking of plugs, Evan, where can the good folks find you online?
Live show, guys. It's coming back. This gets released on Thursday. It's going to be coming back not the Friday after the show, but that next Friday after that, which is going to be fantastic. I got some crazy stuff planned for it. And you guys can follow me at EvanDeGraff15 on the tweets. Yeah, because who doesn't like the twits?
All right, Manning, where can the good folks find you?
If you do use those twits, you can find me at Cineman. That's, Cine and Man. I'm going to keep doing this until it gets old. So CINE_MANN. And you can also find me being an editor at Geeks and Gamers for their podcasts, and also here for Take 3 reactions, summits, and various shows just like this on Take 3's channel.
Perfect. Yay! And you guys can find me on Twitter and my band Last Shot Redemption at LSAR Band MN. You guys can follow Take 3 Productions on Twitter and Instagram at Take 3 Trivia, and you can find me on Stardust at Chris Take 3. That, guys, that ought about do it. So, for my panel, I'm Chris Skywalker Dohmen. I'd like to say thank you, and may the Force be with you always.